Well, good evening, friends. Mark Holmes here, and as always, I want to thank you all for watching, commenting, subscribing, and being part of the Jobu Sports Report. Without you guys, this literally does not work. I would have been doing a video actually outside in my new studio, but it is really pouring down rain right now, and I haven't gotten that canopy out there to kind of help that stuff from blowing in. So we'll wait till another day comes through, but we're working on it. Trust me, we will be doing plenty of things out there. The weather's supposed to be good this weekend, and hopefully I'll have a few new surprises with some things that are coming tomorrow. The Cowboys have been actually very, very busy after a very slow start where they basically signed, as they always do, believing in their own players, signing, re-signing, or tendering their own players. Now they're beginning to get their feet wet in the shallow end of free agency. The Cowboys are not one to spend a lot of money and a lot of time in free agency. They believe in trying to find those undrafted free agents. They believe in the draft and so on. And free agency is like one of those things that you kind of have to do, you know, those husbandly duties and so forth, something that you kind of have to do, you know, you know, I'm talking about the honey-do list. Yeah, well, we got to do some stuff in free agency, so let's go ahead and just get it over with. You know, they kind of half-heartedly go into it. But today they've been busy trying to take care of some things on the defensive side of the ball. After just literally did a video an hour ago about the Cowboys signing Canadian Brett Urban, they have now signed, and I'm trying to keep everybody up, Tarell Basham from the Jets, an outside linebacker, 6'4", 266 pounds. Last year, let me go through because I'm literally trying to keep up with all these things. This past year, 19 solo tackles, 3.5 sacks, and this is what I like actually seeing, 3 forced fumbles. The other thing that's actually interesting when you start looking at the guys that they've signed today, as far as their defense, is they're not looking at a lot of older veterans. You know, Brett Urban is only 29. Tarell is only 27. And let me see. Hold it. I thought I actually had it. Forgive me. I am so far behind on the time, so I should have actually had this. But, you know, when you're dealing with the Dallas Cowboys, you got to be rolling. Carlos Watkins, I think, is only 27 as well. So these are guys that are going to their second contract, so to speak. Haven't gotten the big name, but definitely are still looking for that big payday. So hopefully there's still a bit of hunger in them. Whereas, you know, when you start getting some of those guys that are 30-something that have already had the 2 big contracts and they've been kind of paid, and you know, they just want to kind of continue to play and, you know, maybe have a chance for a ring and things like that. You're not quite as hungry. As Doc Walker says, it's hard to be hungry when your refrigerator's full. And so I'm kind of happy about this. I think the Cowboys are looking at strength in numbers, that if we can get a good rotation of guys on the defensive line for run stopping, that if we can keep the guys fresh, that they don't have to be a top-notch player, that maybe if we fill in some of these holes here, when we go into the draft, we can pick the best player available and say, you know, this is not what we were hoping for this position, but this guy is a standout. So as you start thinking about somebody like a Kyle Pitts, if you've kind of taken some steps where you feel comfortable, where they're guys that can at least hold the line and are no worse than what you had, you feel better if you're actually taking somebody that's going to be a strength that you're helping. The other thing that's interesting is the ties in Virginia, because Tarell actually is from Rocky Mount, Virginia, Franklin County. Very interesting. And, of course, Brett had went to school at UVA. So at least the Cowboys are beginning to make some moves. I'm happy that we're looking at defensive line, although here's my one caveat. This is the one thing that kind of irks me. Tarell is an outside linebacker, 6'4", 266. Okay? Edge rusher type. Brett is an edge rusher / tackle. 6'4", 300 pounds. I'm sorry, 6'7", 300 pounds. The Cowboys always like length. in their defensive linemen. They like guys that are tall, the David Irvings and things. We always sign tackles and defensive ends. We always draft high. Defensive ends, linebackers. The one thing that they just kind of are, afterthought. Where they'll say, we've got a tackle, we'll use him as a one technique. It's okay. It's no big deal. It's just a nose tackle. Or in my case, I was a nose guard. They don't use that term anymore, but basically you lined up over the center and you got your lunch handed to you by the guard, the center, and the guard, and the fullback, and you get the wham block from the tight end. Okay, or the influence block. Okay, or sometimes the freaking tackle would come down there when you see the center go one way, you see the guards go that way to the linebackers, and you see the fullback and he's out there, and you're thinking you're going to get a tackle, and that's when the offensive tackle comes down and cleans your clock. It hits you in the ear hole. I'm sorry, I've got anger issues still about being a nose tackle, but see, you've got to be that special kind of guy to understand that you're going to get beat down every single play, and it's going to be from different directions. So you can't just take a guy who's an edge rusher or a tweener. He is kind of an edge rusher because he's kind of fast and light in the ass, but he also plays tackle, kind of like a Tyrone Crawford, and say, we're going to slide you down and be a one technique. That's not what they do. It's not what they do. You need a special type of guy that can play that one technique. It's not length. You don't want a guy who's 6'8". You want a guy that's like a fire hydrant, low to the ground. When you back up into a fire hydrant, you back it up and there's a fire hydrant across the street like in my house, and I hit it with my truck. I bent it. Bent the crap out of my bumper too. Boy, glad it didn't break off and shoot water everywhere. But I tell you what, bam, it stopped my truck. And see, when you're low to the ground, when you get that guy that's about 6 foot and about 320, low center of gravity, that when the center hits him, and he gets a double team from the guard, that he can drop an anchor because he's close to the ground, boom, and doesn't get pushed out of the point of attack. That keeps that guard from doing a chip block and going to the linebacker. That whole thing clogs up the middle. And that's the thing that the Cowboys still keep neglecting. Happy that we got some defensive tackles. Happy we got an outside linebacker. But can we get a one technique? I tell you, if they end up just getting one great player, one blue chipper free agent, have it be a one technique or safety. Can you just do one of those for me? All right, that's where we are, y'all. The Cowboys have signed their third defensive lineman and edge rusher. I'm Mark Holmes, and of course, I'm keeping you up to date. See ya.